So, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Hytale HQ podcast. And today we're going to be talking about dungeons, not just dungeons, bosses, not just dungeons and bosses, but elites as well. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I keep wanting to call them rifts, but they're not rifts. They're what are those? What are the little things? The portals that what are the portals called that open up? I keep wanting to call them rifts.
Breach.
Breaches. There we go.
Yep.
And we're going
Yep.
to talk about breaches. So, if you want to see our pre and post show conversations, you can watch the full show recording by becoming a member on Patreon. All links will be in the description below. Also, a little show note, recording this one during the nighttime, and my wife and my son are both streaming right now. So if you hear yelling or screaming in the background, just pretend like it's dungeon sound effects, okay?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's the boss in the background, quite literally, because it's Miss P back there. It's the boss. So let's go ahead and let's jump into a little bit of conversation here with the guys. But first, let's introduce you to who we're talking to. I got the big dude himself is here. He's been on a little bit of hiatus, but we were able to pull the guy out of retirement. I think he's kind of planning to come back a little bit anyways, but I was able to pull him out. Dungeon lover extraordinaire. If you know anything about big dude, you know it's dungeons and Legend of Zelda. He loves Zelda.
That's right. That's right.
Big
Nice.
dude, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
We have Broken Mini Fridge here, returning from a previous episode. We didn't scare him off in the first one, so he decided to come back. Broken Mini Fridge, thank you so much for rejoining the HQ.
Nice to be back again. I don't scare off that easily.
Okay, good. I try my best sometimes. And
We'll see.
I got these two over here. They'll scare you off. And we got Oatman5000 here with us as well. Yes, he does love his oatmeal, but he also loves his Hytale. We were just talking that he actually came to Hytale a little bit later than some other people's origin stories. He actually picked up and learned about Hytale pretty close to like actual launch of the game, pre-release launch. So really interesting to see. Definitely make sure you check out that pre-show if you want to know a little bit more about everybody. Oatman, thanks for joining the HQ.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And as I said, today our topic is going to be dungeons, bosses, and all of that fun sort of thing that we're going to be talking about. So just to kind of preface things like I normally do before we get started, we're going to talk about what like I want you guys to know what chapter one's theme is, because that's kind of where all this comes from. We had the big chapter one blog post came out probably a couple weeks ago now. I don't remember exact date, but it's been 2-3 weeks. And one of the big topics in there that we learned about was there's going to be a theme of goblins. That's kind of like the general like theme of the update. And there's a lot of things to do with goblins, but one of them is we're getting a goblin dungeon, we're getting a goblin boss, we're getting goblin elite mobs. We're going to talk about that. There's a boss encounter manager that sounds really cool in terms of how they're designing the bosses, and there's a breach system that we'll talk about a little bit once we get there as well. So lots of really cool stuff. With that being said, I want to know what these guys' first impression of our first boss ever, which I was informed actually has a name, the Gobliterator. It's such a Gobliterator. Big dude, what's your first impression of the first ever boss announced in Hytale? What do you think of that guy?
Terrible.
All right, and
No,
we're
just-
gonna go ahead and end the podcast now.
Full stop.
Thanks for watching, everybody. No, it was genuinely such a surprise, and it's better than I imagined. Whenever they were going to add bosses, I love that there's actual like dungeon mechanics or boss fight mechanics.
Yep.
With like the blasts that you have to get out of the way, and things like that. The design is incredible. I really love the design. It has a lot of like character to it. It doesn't just feel like generic goblin bad guy. You know,
I got
like
him up on screen right now, if you can see him.
Yeah. That's him. It looks so unique and it has a lot of personality to him. Makes him a lot more memorable. And then I guess, didn't he also say there's gonna be like a phase, like 2 phases or something? Where there's like
3 phases.
3 phases, yeah. And so it's like the armor's probably gonna get taken down. You see a little like the eyeballs down at the bottom, so it's like probably gonna,
Some
like,
mystery
the
there.
armor will whittle down, and you'll have the 2 little goblins or whatever in there. Yeah, I think it's incredible design, and it gets me excited for the future bosses that are going to be added. Like if this is just the first one, that's really promising.
Dude, it's so cool looking. Like when you see this, like it really tells the story of the goblins were just like bored one day and they're like, yo, let's build like a big suit that a few of us can ride in and just like break
Heck
stuff.
yeah, dude. Heck yeah.
100%.
That's exactly what it looks like. It's so awesome. It's got the paint on it. It's so cool. What about you, Oat Man? What were your first impressions when you saw this guy?
So I just like this whole thing. It's like, where do you come up with this? Was like my idea, or it's like
The creativity is
I-
insane.
I was gonna say, it's
Yeah.
like I've never seen anything similar to this before. Like, I mean, it's hard to imagine like what could have inspired such like a unique idea for a boss. And that was kind of my first impression, was like, this is like so uniquely Hytale too, that like, uh, I mean, maybe there's games and stuff like that that have similar bosses somewhere, but like the design of this guy is absolutely crazy. It's like it's just
Brother,
crazy.
do you
Like,
see
it never,
this? Look, I just noticed this. These are
Is it chain?
eyeballs and teeth
and the
drawn
yeah,
on this
It
thing.
kind of looks like a chain chomp.
Chain chomper from
Yeah,
Mario.
yeah, chain
So
chomp.
good.
What are we looking at?
It's so cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah, a lot of personality put into
Yeah.
the design.
Yeah.
very.
I'm hoping
yeah.
that we get like a little bit of like some story with it.
Yeah.
You know, that it's
that'd
not
be
just
cool.
like you walk in a room and there's a health bar
And he's just
and you
there.
start attacking it. I would like a little maybe cutscene, like right when you find him and you
That'd be
you
cool.
have some kind of like he says something like,
What if-
get out of my
What if his dungeon tells a story, like you're going through and you're seeing like areas where maybe like some of the assembly may have happened, maybe like a place where
Oh, that would be
there's
cool.
some similar spare parts like sitting
That's
around.
something I hope they do a lot with dungeons is like
Yes.
environmental storytelling and
Yes.
just like stories in general or quests tied to specific dungeons.
Mhm.
I would love to find a room where it's like where they made the design for it. Like you have like
Yeah.
just like bad drawings of the suit and stuff, and like some like mock-ups like of the suit. That could be cool too. With that like environmental storytelling would be so fun.
I would like to see kind of similar to how like the original Overwatch maps were. I don't know if you guys are super familiar, where it's like you would play the maps, but it's like the longer you spent in the maps, the more like smaller details you would find, and like just all the lore about the specific stuff that happened on that map was awesome, and I feel like that would
Yeah.
be really cool to see in Hytale
Yeah, it
as
would
well.
be. That would definitely be really cool. Mini Fridge, what was your first impression when you saw this guy?
First impression, design wise, it absolutely fits the goblin aesthetic. I think it would be cool. I'm not expecting this, but it would be cool if we could like pilot our own version of it at some point in the future.
That would be
Um,
awesome.
Oh my god, yes.
I'm more mechanically impressed for this being the first boss and them
Yeah.
having like the whole making an entire system for boss encounters and it showing like where it's about to attack and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll
I
get
was
to that here in a moment.
expecting for a first boss to be closer to like what the elites are.
Yeah,
So I'm
like
I'm
they have like a
impressed
move
that
or
we've
two
got,
that they
like-
do, and that's it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that we've got a bit more of an advanced boss for the first one.
The bar is high
I-
now.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about how some of it'll work, but I'll save that for another time.
Yeah, maybe we'll theorize on some of it a little bit as we go, and who knows? Maybe Simon and team will watch this, and maybe they'll pick up some cool ideas. 'Cause I'm sure they're probably still designing this guy. You know what? I would love to see can we get a Hytale Netflix animated series? And like,
Heck yeah.
I want
Please
this to
not
be
Netflix.
well, I don't care where it is. Put it wherever you want, but I want an animated series, and I want this dude to be the first protagonist. 100%. So I'm kind of curious, and we're going to actually let's stay with you here, Mini Fridge, because we're almost kind of like alluding to this anyways. How do you feel about those like move sets that we saw? Like, first of all, like, how do you feel about the moves themselves, like the attacks themselves? And then, like, how do you feel about the telegraphs? Is the way that they're doing, because it does look like it's kind of um like what we saw is probably like prototype, but probably similar to what they're going for. So, like, do you think here? I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna mute it here. It's super loud in my ear. Where the heck's the mute button on this thing? There it is. And I think I can like we'll just here, let me pull it up on screen for everybody so they can kind of see it. And I'll put it on loop so it can play. So as we're sitting here watching it, you kind of tell me, do the moves seem cool? Do they fit the boss? Do you like the photographs that they have here where like it kind of tells you what's happening? And do you think the moves fit the boss? Mini fridge.
I mean, they definitely fit for sure. The stalagmites falling is a bit of a strange one, but I guess they
Yeah,
chalk that up to like firing a cannon at the ceiling of the cave or something. So
maybe.
that's fine. The spinning one reminds me a lot of a very early boss in Warframe. But this is like the first Hytale boss, so I'm not expecting like anything super complicated or over the top. I do think there's nothing wrong with them telegraphing their attacks like this. I do hope they find some way to like make it more thematic to the boss instead of just having it be like a red area where you shouldn't stand. I don't know
Mhm.
how they do that for this boss specifically, but it's the caution signs are kind of they don't fit right. But this
Yep.
might just be for the showcasing purposes of that video.
Yeah. It's hard to
My
say because sorry, let me just get this in real quick. It's hard
Yeah,
to
sure.
say because I know Simon gets some of his inspiration from games like Path of Exile and Diablo and like the especially the latest iteration of those games. These ARPG games typically do this. They do show telegraphs because a lot of times like those moves they hit hard. Sometimes they one shot you in those games. I thought it's going to happen here unless you have like no gear on. Um,
Well,
but they do try to show you what's about to happen so you know what to do. But also like and I'm going to take this to you big dude after I say this or whoever wanted to jump in. Um it it looks like even without those telegraphs, the boss is kind of telegraphing on his own anyways. Like you can hear
yeah.
and see the charge up happening for the big cone
Yeah.
blast. You can see the and
Mhm.
hear the charge up happening for the spinny wheel. And odds are that one's
Yeah.
gonna do like a tick damage. And if you get hit by it initially, like okay, let me get out of this before it kills me. The stalactites are a little bit harder because you would have to look up and find them, and that can sometimes be hard to do if it's like dark or something. So maybe that one
Yeah,
needs a
I'm
little bit
actually
more.
really glad that you brought this up because this was actually one of the main things I wanted to bring
All
up
right, go
as
ahead,
well.
fire away.
I do think that the telegraphs are too much.
Okay.
I think that I think it's okay that they're there, but I think I would like to see them toned down a lot.
Agreed.
And I
Yep.
think that especially the exclamation point, that's really bad in my opinion. I think it's too much. I think what I would like to see with it, because like what you're saying, I mean, you see him squatting, he's charging up, you know an attack's coming, you know to get out of the way just instinctively.
Yeah.
So what I think would be better is like right before the attack happens, maybe 4 frames before it flashes red and then burst.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Ah,
Good
So it's
idea.
like a very subtle, like, here's the spot, just in case, like, because we're probably already moving out of the way, but maybe we thought we're out of the range. That quick flash would be like, oh, I'm not all the way out, and I can scoot out a little bit more.
yeah.
So it'd still serve a purpose without being like, okay. I mean, look how long that is right there. That's so much time to be like, all right, everybody, I'm going to grab a coffee. I'm going to go step out of the way.
Yeah.
And then he's going to make an attack. It just feels too handholdy, I think.
Okay.
I think a much more so. Actually, okay, look at that right there. The spin attack. Whenever it does the fire spin move,
Yeah.
watch how it turns yellow before the attack.
Okay. I didn't even notice. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it did
see
that
that?
little short flash
That would be
yellow.
perfect.
I would
don't-
even be fine with just that. Like just a fast, like, boom, here it is. Get out of the way. Now,
Yeah.
it does happen like immediately. So maybe like a frame or two before that. But that's
Okay.
what I mean. Just a fast, like, here's a spot. And then that's it.
So I have something that I want to throw out
Go
there.
ahead.
Did you guys see, or is there confirmation that like the stalactites falling was actually a Gobliterator boss move, or was that just a
Ah,
demonstration of potential things that they could
I don't
do with
know.
boss
Maybe
Yeah,
mechanics?
it
and
felt kind of
he's not there.
implied.
Yeah, that's what I'm
He's
saying.
not there though. In
Yeah.
that.
So
Well,
that was
we
my
also
thought
know
when
something
I
else is
first
going to
saw that.
happen. Something else is going to happen is like they when they talk about phases, stuff that's happening with the map could be a phase two, like the
True.
area that you're
True.
in. So it could be that the obliterator like jumped away or did something, and like he's out of the way, and you're not trying to fight him or do anything to him during this phase. You're just trying to like not die, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about
because
to
when I
say,
first
we don't know for certain if this is a boss where they'll just always be there the entire time and you can
Yeah. True.
always hit them, or if there's certain points like in between attacks where you can actually damage them, or if it's just like a super big bullet sponge, or if there's like, DPS phases or stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, that could
Um,
be, yeah.
I guess like obviously the point of having a good, very visible, very easy to see telegraph is I guess there's a couple reasons. Obviously, the main point is to give the player some time to get out the way and not die. So I guess like if we were to talk about part of this, we need to talk about like what death means in Hytale, and I'll tell you what I mean here by that in a second. And then the other thing is like also just for like really low skilled players that like really don't really like combat, but maybe they're feeling compelled to go here and fight this guy, right? Because they're probably going to get something from it. Um, so maybe this is a two-part thing, and I want to hear what you guys think about this here. So maybe on easy difficulty, you get like this kind of telegraph. Like,
I
hey,
was just thinking that.
yeah, like you're playing on easy mode, like that's cool. Like we want you to be able to fight this guy and know what's going on. Maybe on normal and hard or something, maybe there's no telegraph like that. You have to rely on like the boss himself, his
Yeah.
telegraph, not a visual one. And then if we talk about, okay, well, what happens if you don't dodge it? Maybe if you get caught in the middle of that cone thing, like if you're out here, if you're here, like maybe you're toast, especially if you've already taken some damage, you're not full health or something. I don't know, or if you're
Yeah.
on like hard difficulty.
I hope so. I personally
Maybe.
hope so.
And we'll have to see how it works. So then it's like, okay, but what does death do to you? Obviously, death in Hytale, or if I think about death in even Minecraft when you play it, usually, you get sent back to the last place you touched a bed, and usually that's all the way back in your base. And if you have to go all the way back through to get to this guy, that can kind of suck a little bit, right? Because in ARPG games and RPG games, usually if you die in a dungeon to a boss, you reset back either right before the boss fight or like in the dungeon somewhere a little bit before it. So this could beg the question. I'm going to go around to you guys on this because I want to hear what you think. I don't even know what I think yet. Should there be, when you enter a dungeon, especially when it has a boss in it, should there be some method in which you can set your spawn alternative of your bed? So that way, if this guy
Absolutely.
kills you, it's fine.
Quick
Like you do
save.
lose a little bit of stuff, but like you don't have to waste an hour getting back to the guy. You can like quickly like reassess things and go back and fight him. Let me start with you on this one, big dude, and then we'll go down the list.
Yeah, I absolutely think that you should. But there's definitely a certain thing that will ruin that,
Okay.
and that would be the boss not resetting. I hate when games do that. It makes it feel way too cheap. So I'm okay with like, let's say you're going in, and I don't know, this might be a little too difficult to have there be an alternate version, but if you go in with another player, so if you have other players in your world and they're in the boss fight, I think if you die, they should be able to keep going.
Yeah.
And or have some kind of revive mechanic that could be.
Thinking
And they've talked
about
about that before.
revive mechanics.
Yeah. So, but I do think that if all players who are in the boss fight die, I think the boss needs to reset.
I agree.
And there should be some kind of save point, whether it's at the beginning of the dungeon, you need to make the run back, or it's right before it. I don't really feel passionate either way. I kind of like runs a little bit because it makes the death feel more.
You need to be punished a little bit.
Yeah, you want to feel like dying is not what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh man, if we die here, we got to run back. Like I do like a little bit of that because it's not like, oh, if we die, we can just immediately jump back in. It's no big deal. kind of takes some of the intensity away, I think. But it would definitely ruin it if the health bar stayed the same. That's like my
Yeah.
number one. Do not do that. Yeah, that's the
I think
number one thing
Hytale
that would
trends in
kill
that
it.
way. Because have you ever been like fighting a mob and then like the dude like loses interest in you and he runs back? Like I think their health does reset if I remember right. Maybe I'm thinking of a mod I've played, but I know I've seen that in Hytale somewhere.
Oh, that
Um,
resets all the time on a bunch of different stuff when it at least playing around on my tail and stuff like that. The bosses that are added in
yeah.
whatever
Here, before I
mod
come to you,
adds
Oatman,
those.
I'm gonna throw this in really quick because what I don't want to see, or I don't want to be the answer, I don't think, is the like the Minecraft way that I'm used to, which is okay, we just bring another bed with you and set up your bed like right outside the dungeon, sleep in it, and then do the dangerous thing. It just feels very unimmersive to do. I guess like there's probably not going to be something that stops you from doing that, of course, but that shouldn't be the way that you have to do it. There should be like an intended way for it to work. All right, big dude, real quick, and then we're gonna go to Oatman.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, whenever we were working on my dungeon mod, we actually discovered that when you're in an instance,
Mhm.
because we basically used beds as the source code, but we made these checkpoint statues
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
dungeon
Yep.
that you could set your spawn point. What we found out is like it does work in the dungeon. When you die, you respawn there. But when you leave that instance, your spawn point is still your bed.
Ah, interesting.
And
Okay.
so if that were to work similarly here, I think that would be perfect. So your spawn point in the dungeon would be whatever checkpoint you have, but then once you leave, it resets back to your bed.
Interesting. All right, what do you think, Oatman?
So I'm thinking of this from the perspective of number one, somebody who's put a lot of hours into Binding of Isaac, and then somebody who's put a lot of hours into Terraria. And some version of that, now those obviously aren't very similar games by any stretch of the imagination. However, I do like the idea of if you die when you're fighting the boss, you at least respawn. Outside of the breach. I'm debating in my head, and this is where I'm struggling a little bit. I'm debating in my head if it would be a good idea to close the breach when you die, and you have to just get whatever, or just wait for the next one to come to be able
Yeah.
to fight the boss again, and that's the consequence. Because that's probably how Terraria would treat it. As far as boss moves and stuff like that, which I honestly thought was a good system. As far as boss moves and stuff like that, I think about like Binding of Isaac and things like that, where there's not a lot of telegraphing, and the only way you're going to survive any boss is boss knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
And I like boss
so it's like-
knowledge being a thing.
right.
big
So it's
time.
like with those, and to some extent, that's kind of how Terraria is too. But that also has to be balanced to some extent with like people who want to do hardcore runs and stuff like that too. However, I guess the problem with that though is if you're going to do a hardcore run and you're going to die to a boss and that's the end of your run, if you're a hardcore exclusivist, that super sucks for you and you just have to start over.
Be good.
It
I
does,
guess
but
I guess get good, but then they also have the 9 lives and the 3
yeah, we
strikes
saw the
thing
new
that they just
hardcore
added
mode
today.
stuff got announced today. Just so those of
Right.
you that because this just came today, I didn't even plan this in here.
Mhm.
And we don't have to go deep on it, but there are
Mhm.
more than one hardcore mode in Hytale coming. There is a 3 lives mode. There is a like shared 9 lives mode that's like between everybody in your
Mhm.
server. So it seems like we're gonna have a few different modes. And then with them having that by default, of course, there's going to be mods that'll give you all sorts of additional options as well. If you like one of the like cookie cutter options doesn't work for you.
That all being said, I am a big fan of the walk of shame
Mm.
when you lose to a boss. So either I think you need to walk back, maybe not all the way from your bed, especially if your bed or respawn point is super far away from the breach. But I think you should have to go all the way back through the dungeon, go
Yeah, I'm
at
fine with
least
that.
back through the breach to be
I'm
able
fine
to
with it too.
walk back to the boss. And I did like the idea is like if everybody on your team does die, the health
Reset.
is maintained.
Yeah, I
Yep.
like that too. What about you, Mini
Yep.
Fridge? What do you think?
Uh, there's there's multiple approaches they could take to this. If they are keeping the same design philosophy as the like proof of concept goblin dungeon that you can play right now in the game files, there are checkpoints every so often, which is just a bed, but I'd assume they'd make it like a more official thing
Yeah.
in the actual dungeon. Um, so uh, a lot of games do checkpoints like this. However, Walk of Shames, I've played a lot of Souls-like games. Um, but I've also played Elden Ring, which did away with the Walk of Shames by adding a what's called a Stake of Marika, which is a little statue right outside a boss room where if you die in the boss room, you will respawn at that right outside the boss instead of
Yeah.
having to walk back.
Diablo 4
Um,
did that too. Yeah.
so if the boss is like difficult on purpose, I don't think players should be punished for having to fight it 10 times in a row. If you want to do another thing that Elden Ring does is when they do a dungeon, there is like the save point right near the entrance, and then the boss door is also right near the entrance, but if you want to open it, you have to go all the way to the end of the dungeon
Interesting.
to pull a lever or get a key, and
Yep.
then you can walk all the way back, and then the boss is right next to the checkpoint anyways.
Interesting.
Yeah, it heavily
Um,
depends on the difficulty of the boss.
So I
And
have something
sure,
on that
for
actually. I
sure.
have something on that actually. So here's my thought, right? This is a sandbox game. So I feel like generally speaking, the difficulty for like a lot of the things you go through throughout normal gameplay really shouldn't be like incredibly high. There shouldn't be like this crazy high skill ceiling on it. But I do personally like high skill ceiling stuff. I think that's fun. So I think that's where stuff that's like, I guess what I would call optional content kind of comes in. Now, one of those ideas, again, stolen from ARPG style games, is I guess what you would call like a like either like an ultimate boss, an ultimate version of the boss, or juicing the boss, or something like that. So what it would be is when you're going through normal gameplay and you end up going through the dungeon with the gobliterator in it, he's gonna be like he's gonna be pretty tough, but like he's not gonna be like for the average player, he's gonna be a bit of a fight. For a player that's equipped themselves well and is good at combat, he's not gonna be too hard, right? Because you're gonna have a huge skill. This isn't Elden Ring. We're going to have a huge skill gap in players. But for those of us that do prepare and we do like really hard challenges, you have a way to resummon that boss in an elite version of itself that the dude is going to make you feel pain. It's going to hurt. You're going to get like an increased reward from it, not something that's like locked behind this, the way to where the only way to get it is by fighting the elite version, but maybe something that's a lot more rare of a chance to get. In our first podcast when we talked about runes, Broken Mini Fridge will remember we talked about what if there's like a boss, like there's a boss rune, and like you can get the Gobliterator's big like cone attack as a rune. Would be pretty cool,
That'd
right?
be
But it's gonna
sick.
but it's gonna be a rare drop to get from the core boss. But maybe that rate is like 5x higher when you go back and fight the elite version of that boss, and maybe some other like rare loot kind of gets bundled in that too. Now it's worth it to do for those of us that like the hard PvE. You're not forced to do it. Somebody can grind the boss a few extra times on the not hard difficulty to try to find that rune if they even care about it. They don't like if they don't care about combat, they probably don't even care about it, honestly.
You could do, I mean, you could go the Terraria route where you only drop certain things based on the difficulty of your world, right? So they have a, if you beat the boss in expert mode in Terraria, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Terraria or not, but
I've got
if you
over
beat the
1,000 hours.
heck yeah. But if you beat it in easy mode, you get a certain pool of items, right? If you beat it in expert mode, you get that pool of items plus the expert tier like item that you get, and sometimes that's a mount or whatever, but other times it's like an actual good weapon or something like that you can
Yeah.
get. But they just base it on the difficulty of the world, not so much respawning the boss in an elite version, which I think could work pretty well in Hytale too.
Yeah, I think it could. I think it could. Because then the choice is yours. Like
Yeah.
if you're a cozy player, you don't like that kind of stuff, but you gotta go fight the goblin boss because you're probably gonna get like when you go to that dungeon, you're probably gonna find the stuff
Sure.
you need to get the hang glider or the rocket boots or whatever, right? So you're kind of forced to go there gameplay wise. So that's cool. Cozy player, go there, play. beat the boss, prepare yourself pretty good because he's going to not be easy. So they're going to probably need to prepare extra, but they could take him. And then, yeah, like give us some cool way that we can resummon the guy. Like you find his parts around the dungeon and you bring it over there. And now he's a like crazy version of himself. When you summon him that way, then the real fight begins. And that big cone is probably going to one shot you. So get out the way. But you know to expect it because you've already fought him and beat him the regular mode once.
I will say something I think that I would like to see even more than that, and I think is a little more possible just because I know how much Simon likes World of Warcraft. But in World of Warcraft, you have the option of running the dungeon, and then you have an option of running a heroic version of the dungeon.
Yeah. Similar thing, but we're applying it to the dungeon now.
Similar thing. I think it would be more rewarding if instead of you just redo the boss harder, you when you go to the dungeon can choose heroic or normal, and on heroic the entire dungeon is much harder.
Path of Exile actually has that as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2, but you can juice the dungeons.
We do have a confirmed hard mode, optional hard mode from Simon on Twitter, by the way.
Oh really?
Ooh, perfect.
Wait, hard mode generally speaking for the game, or
is that like
well, he's talking about the boss and the
cool.
So
good.
Interesting.
What I assume from this is what Big Dude said, where it's the whole dungeon is hard mode.
I like that better.
I hope that's the case because
too.
that means instead of just the boss having like a better reward, the entire dungeon has a better reward. Like a lot of games will do. Like I think Terraria also does this. You do harder difficulty. All mobs just have an increased chance to drop whatever they typically would drop.
It also, like, I think would make the dungeon feel a lot more rewarding because if you only make the boss harder, it's going to make, especially for a more experienced player,
the rest of the dungeon will be boring.
Yeah, you're just going to be like one-shotting, like whatever. This is, let me just get to the end. Whereas, like, I want to like from the first encounter of enemies, I want to be like, all right, here we go. All
right, this is actually a really good segue. Let me get this pulled up, and I'm going to pull it up on the main screen. And I'm gonna combine these two topics together a little bit.
I have words about this clip.
Here I'm gonna play it and loop it. There we go. So, I kind of like what we're definitely talking about here. This is an elite boss for those that maybe are just listening to this in podcast form. There's an elite boss or elite mob that charges the player and attacks them. The Feast Master is what this mob is called, and
that's what they called me in high school.
that's what I call myself.
Right there.
Yeah, that is a big dude right there.
that's literally me. They added me in the game.
So this like elites, they're definitely not exclusive to ARPG games, but it's a very ARPG game type mob that exists, and the reason why elites usually exist is because the regular mobs aren't really very hard. So you kind of have like what we would call the junk mobs. Those are like the regular goblins that are running around. You could kill those dudes in mass, right? In an ARPG game, that's how they would exist. You would just be able to kill them in mass. Then you have these elites scattered throughout. They're stronger. They're going to take a little bit of strategy, plenty of hits to kill. They're going to have like this one has a move. And then of course you have your boss at the end. So I guess my like question I kind of want to pose here is you can either say, do you want it to go this route or do you think it's going this route? But do you think that's the route we're going where we kind of take this ARPG style formula of your normal mobs just aren't going to be that hard. And it maybe hard mode doesn't equal the normal mobs are harder. Maybe there's just more of them or something. I don't know. Right. But the whole point of the normal mob is killing mobs is fun. And when we have these runes and attacks that are going to potentially kill a lot of mobs at once, like we just want to do a big move and like 10 of them explode because that's fun and cool. And then you have the elites that kind of slow you down a little bit and make you think and challenge you. And then you have the boss that's the real challenge. Here, let's start with Oatman this time. What do you think? Do you think they're going that route, or do you want to see them go that route, or what do you think of it?
I would love to see them go that route. Honestly, just seeing more challenging bosses and elites and stuff like that, I think is going to be really important to the game. And as far as the longevity goes too, right? Because especially for people who've played the same game loop over and over again, as far as like completing the game, completing everything there is to do in the game, having something that just changes the pace up other than just a hack and slash thing on any given dungeon, I think is going to be really important. And I think over time, people will learn the patterns and stuff like that, and then it might get that way, but it's still going to make you stop and think and have to be like, okay, I have to remember this guy's patterns, I have to adjust to it, and not just blindly hack my way through a bunch of mobs. But I do really like exactly what you said, the satisfaction of just being able to wipe out like an entire pool of junk pawn mobs.
Yeah. Do you think that's better than like the alternative would be, at least from, I never beat Elden Ring. I played it a little bit and kind of moved on. But at least from what I remember with Elden Ring in the earlier stages was like even regular mobs, like they're back and forth fight. Like you're using strategy to kill normal enemies and the fights are longer. So there's fewer of them. So do you prefer like the trash mob killing ARPG method over that?
I think that having the general base mob be that challenging is going, or would decrease the overall experience for the cozy sandbox player. Yeah. Which I think you still have to balance with the RPG vibe of Hytale as well. Because at the end of the day, you still are going to have a large amount of people who came here from the Minecraft community, from the Terraria community, and things like that, that are going to be wanting to just build stuff, have the occasional mob come up, and I mean there's that balance that is going to have. I mean, so you can make it a holistic story game where it's going to be all challenge all the time, or you can have it so that it has that balance and you can kind of choose to play it difficult or not, you know.
Yeah. What do you think, big dude? Which route do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Souls style combat had more of an argument until the runes got announced. I think the runes totally make that style not fun.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be getting things that are, a lot of them are going to be AoE, right?
Yep.
Like the chain lightning, the ground slams. You're going to want to play with those. You're going to want to be like, I want to make something that can wipe a whole room. Like I want to be able to just boom and just chain lightning everything. And like,
see it
that
all
is
die.
Satisfying. It kind of reminds me of like Destiny 2. If you've played that game at all, there's a lot of...
I've heard of it.
Broken video fridge.
There's a lot of builds that you can do that like... and it's really satisfying whenever you get into like a bunch of ads are coming in and you're just like slaughtering them. But then obviously like those bigger enemies come in. It's like, okay, I got to actually play the game now.
Yeah.
But I think it's so fun to have those trash mobs whenever you are given stuff like the runes. It makes the runes feel more fun to play with. Because if everything's just one target is really difficult, then, I mean... You bring in one skeleton and you drop a giant fireball on it or something. It's like,
and he's just like, I'm still here.
Yeah. So I would say with the rune system, you need just more mobs that are weaker. I think that's going to work best with the rune system.
Do you think, before I bring it to you, Mini Fridge, do you think, big dude, that they should, so if let's say we have a harder difficulty of the dungeon run, right? Should a harder difficulty make the trash mobs that exist a little bit harder, so you're going to have to chain together more moves to kill them? Or should it make it so there's more of them to have to kill? Which do you think would be more fun and challenging at the same time?
I think the first option, with maybe a small mix of the two, maybe a little bit more. But I think overall, just increasing the damage resistance, and also a good way to do it could be that like they have resistances. Like let's say when you do the hard version, there's like a lightning resistance on the dungeon, and so now like let's say my whole build is about lightning. Shout out to Chaser, that's probably what he's gonna do. And so it's like, okay, now this dungeon, I'm gonna have to kind of rethink my build. I might have to swap runes to make myself more effective. I think something that challenges or checks your build is good.
Yeah.
So I think instead of doing more enemies, I would just want them to be more challenging. And I don't think that necessarily means just more health.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think resistances, I think things that block or get in the way of how you normally would want to use your abilities, I think can challenge you to be like, okay, chain lightning's not going to work as well anymore. So maybe I try using fire, some fire runes. That's going to help me out here.
Or maybe what if they're like AI's a little bit smarter and they know to like spread out more? Just even something simple like that, to where the AoE stuff can't just wipe them so easy.
Yeah.
The wolves already kind of do that now. Remember that update? Like they'll like go around to your sides now and surround you. Maybe they could do
Hmm.
something like that. What do you think,
Yeah.
Mini Fridge?
Well, I'm glad you asked me last because I just coincidentally have very similar thoughts to Big Dude, and
Okay.
I'm actively working on a video about how I think dungeons should end up,
Okay.
and it almost feels like he somehow got his hands on my script.
Big dude, you
Um,
hack Mini Fridge? Oh, yes, he did. Look out.
but
Check your
I
antivirus.
think elites, along with like a bunch of enemies, are good, especially with the abilities, because just like in Destiny, where press a button, suddenly the entire room's dead. But at least you still have the elite there to worry about. So
Right.
you need to go out of your way to focus on that. Maybe have a part of your build specifically for elites. Um,
Yes.
as for that Feastmaster clip specifically, I went on a bit of a rant in my script about that.
Yeah.
Because for audio listeners, that is a clip of an enemy charging at a player who is wearing full adamantite armor and blocking with a shield, and it does almost half of his health.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
So
Rue.
I think that's a hard mode dungeon clip. If I had to guess, either that or they just toned it up to like just showcase the move.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that the fact that he's blocking is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even notice that until he
Oh,
played it
yeah,
again.
that's
I was
a
like,
good
he's holding
point.
block,
Yep,
and he
is.
took that much damage.
Yeah. Well, maybe the shield just doesn't do anything. So even if you're not blocking, maybe you still take that much.
It could be like that red aura means like you're not blocking this. Get out
I
of
don't
the
have
way.
a problem with unblockable attacks. It's in a lot of games. I am just concerned if this is like hard mode, it means there's a chance they're just doing enemies do more health and have more health and do more damage, which of course is like the last way I'd want them to approach difficulty. I think there's a dozen more interesting ways to do it, but this is just like a 7-second clip, so
Yeah, it's
I'm
hard
not
to
gonna
say.
get too
Maybe he just
concerned.
does this move more frequently as part of it, or I mean,
Or
it
it
does
could be
seem
that he
like
doesn't have that aura. That aura could mean that even
the
blocking
red.
won't stop it, but maybe in normal mode, blocking will reduce the damage.
Yeah, or it could just be part
And
of the
some,
tell, maybe like an additional like visual indicator to the player.
yeah.
I guess the big thing with this one will be if like once it starts its like charge stance, is its like path already decided at that point? Because if so, it should be pretty easy to dodge. But if it like tracks you or something, that's gonna be kind of wild.
I would like to see it track up until it launches.
Okay, so like right when it starts
Like
moving.
as soon as it starts moving, it's locked.
Yeah.
But
Then you wonder like, do we
while
need
it's
like a
charging-
dodge mechanic or something? I wonder, like a roll. Just to, like, be able to get out the way. I kind of like the idea of a roll personally.
Oh, roll would be sick.
Yeah.
I love dodge.
Even if it
rolls.
takes like, it could take a lot of stamina or something. Like I'm fine with the cost being high, so it's not rolling everywhere. But like something, because then you can make bosses. Then your move, like I think it opens them up for how they can design the bosses or the elite attacks. Because if you know the player can roll out the way and doesn't just have to like slowly move, then you can do different things because the player has a tool to get out the way of those different
Yeah.
things.
I will
Whereas
say
if the player doesn't have that move in their kit, then you might be just like insta killing any player if they just happen to be in the middle when the telegraph goes off. You're just kind of screwed no matter what.
I will say, so right now, Hytale's melee combat is very similar to Skyrim's,
Mhm.
and if you put a dodge mod on Skyrim, it trivializes the game. That's not a bad thing. It just goes to show how simple that combat is.
Yeah.
So if they give us a dodge, then they could get wacky and wild with enemy attacks and boss designs. So
And I like
I
that.
personally would not be
True.
against a dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
I
if
like
they
it
had that
too.
early. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could start building the game around some of those functionalities.
Yeah. I think so too.
I would love to see it get away from just feeling button mashy.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely get that with the runes, I think.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, it could still get button mashy, I guess, but I think less bad than it is right now for sure.
But I mean, that kind of makes a good question on like a boss fight is how much do you think runes? I'm sure the abilities are going to have cooldowns of some sort.
Or cost.
I mean, I doubt you're sitting back just spamming runes. I
Yeah.
still feel like it'd be like hit with one rune, go in, slice, 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 slice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
It'd be cool if the boss has some
True.
like vulnerable, like slightly more vulnerable times where like if you hit them like during the charge up, like high risk, high reward, right? Like I'm gonna go in and get this hit right before they do their hit. It's risky for me to do that, but like they're gonna take a little bit extra damage or something could be kind of
I would
cool.
love to see like
an
a
offset
stun.
attack or a stance break.
Yeah, like a stance break
agreed.
stun. If he's charging, you hit him with like a rune blast or something, and then it like stuns him for a minute and allows you to go in and
Yeah,
and do some
stagger
damage.
bars are pretty popular in ARPG games where like you do enough
Yeah.
damage.
Satisfying for sure.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
All right, let's I want to move on to the next topics. This was interesting, and maybe I broke some news on this earlier today that I haven't shared publicly anywhere. Although I mean it's on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter, then you may have seen this. But I got breaches up on screen right now, and I just want to kind of explain to people that don't know what a breach is really quick. A breach is going to be, think of it like a world event. Um, they can appear in open areas. We don't know all the rules about where they can and can't appear, but open areas. And on the screen right now, for those that aren't watching, there is a portal that appears, a little kind of like explosion that comes out of the ground. And the ground kind of like raises up, and then there's some goblins that appear around it, and they're like kill the skeletons that are in the area. So basically, this breach appears somewhere in your world. You'll be notified of the breach appearing. I think there's a graphic
Looks
somewhere
so cool.
else in the chapter 1 blog post that like says that a breach is appearing. So you get notified there's a breach, right? Then you probably like look on your map and maybe it shows up there, or maybe you know to like look around a certain area. You find this breach and you go inside of it. And then inside of that breach, there's another video that's right here, is the Goblin World. And the Goblin World is a World Gen V2 world like area. This is the part I confirmed. I asked this to one of the devs on Twitter, and they confirmed for me. This Goblin World you see on the screen is World Gen V2. So this is a different way we're getting to experience World Gen V2 other than the typical portal system that we have right now where you like select to go in. So this is really cool. So we're gonna probably see some new tech here, I would imagine. So now that we've kind of explained and talked about what breaches are, I'm kind of curious just at a base level how you guys feel about breaches. Let me start with you, Oatman. How do you feel about the breach system, breaches as a system?
So currently, I think long term it doesn't make sense once World Gen V2 is fully implemented into the game, and I think that's
There's lore reasons and stuff and things, but I'll let you
right.
talk.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I know the lore and all that to some extent that causes those sorts of things. But seeing a goblin area or dungeon that spawns live in your world would be awesome. However, I do also kind of like the idea of random world events. It makes the world feel quite a bit more alive in general. So I kind of go back and forth a little bit. I think it would depend on. I think in order to answer that question fully and holistically, it would depend on what is in the dungeon, right? And like what the vibe of the dungeon is entirely. Because if I walk up on an area and it looks exactly the same as every single time, and I on day one could wander into a goblin dungeon after opening Hytale, for example, I think that might be kind of lame to some extent too. But it depends. Like if it's a gigantic dungeon and takes up a ton of space, it could be something that just looms in the world, something you stumble upon. But I think the breach currently in its current the way I'm imagining this works at least, I think leaves it open to be able to have more complex dungeons and stuff like that kind of experiences, and makes it so that the cozy gamer doesn't necessarily have to participate, so to speak, unless it's key to progression or anything like that.
What do you think, big dude?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like there's just so much. There's a lot of good with the system, and then there's a lot of just like questions. that you have of like how future proof is this system.
Mhm.
And I will say, like, I definitely like the world event aspect, like you were saying.
Mhm.
I think that's something I don't want to lose. Like, let's say World Gen V2 comes out. I'm okay with some things that were in breaches being added into the overworld, but I don't actually want to get rid of the breaches entirely, because I
Mhm.
do love the like the idea of like I'm just walking around, I hear a sound off in the distance, I look on my map, there's a portal icon, I run over there, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a breach, I need to jump in here and do this. It adds like an urgency, I think, and like a more wow factors, I guess, to your exploration.
Agreed.
You're not expecting it, and it just happens, and it's like, oh, I got to go do this. And then walking in and not knowing like what's on the other side, I think is exciting. Um, because even though like natural world generation is more immersive in a way, it can sometimes feel a little like he was saying too. It's like maybe you turn around, and it's like, oh look, there's a goblin dungeon. Like I'm just right there. There's no build up
Mhm.
to it, whereas the breach has the build up, right? It's like, oh, a portal opens, goblins are coming out. I walk in, I see this brand new area, and then I'm approaching the dungeon. It has like a more exciting build up to getting into the dungeon. Uh, I think of like the Woodland Mansion in Minecraft. It's like sometimes, I mean, though they are extremely rare and it's still
Yes.
exciting to see them, but it's kind of like you just turn and it's just there, and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's just like a quick, like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you just
Um,
wander right into it
so
on your first day
yeah, I
too.
do
Like,
like it. I do like it, but I
yeah.
also do want to see. I don't want all the dungeons to be in portals. I definitely don't want that.
Definitely not.
Agreed.
Um, but I do think that they're like having world events is cool, and maybe it's not even portals. Maybe it's just a boss. Maybe just having world bosses that can just come into your world, and you got to go fight them. Could be cool, but
What do you think, Mini Fridge?
So from a lore perspective, I think the breaches are cool because what I think is happening is as we are like restoring the memories of Gaia, it's like weakening the curse and allowing more of
sure.
a true
Yeah.
Orbis to like slip into the echo that we currently play in
Okay.
exploration mode. Um as far as like the gameplay experience of it, I think it's good for you know how early on it is and new content is new content.
Yeah,
What I most look forward to though is them doing like world events of various different things. It could be like a boss or a wave of enemies or something, but I'd also love to see like some just strange or interesting NPC encounters. Like the game that does this the best, I think, and it's a bar that I'm not expecting Hytale to reach, is Red Dead Redemption 2,
Mm-hmm.
where when you're just, you know, on your horse roaming down the road, a whole bunch of just random stuff can happen. You can meet like strangers or get attacked by an enemy gang, and a whole bunch of memorable moments happen that way. Skyrim does it as well. I'd love to see just like simple random encounters like that in Hytale in the future when, you know, there's like generated roads and stuff that you can just walk on and like be
yeah,
incentivized to travel with.
Mm. I I think I feel a lot different about this than most of you to an extent. First of all, I think you're probably right about how this is a way for them to tell the story about us being in the Echo and kind of taking us to the eventual 1.0 launch. It's a storytelling bit for them. It's also a bit for them to like, hey, let's bring them some World Gen V2 stuff because they want to see it.
yeah,
Um, but I think long term, I would love for a version of this to exist in the permanent game. And this is where I see it fitting. I think the core Hightail world should be very like pure in the sense of like whatever you see here, like you can easily like do or build or make or whatever. So like anything that you find in a dungeon or as part of the world that's in the world, you should be able to recreate that block for block. Everything's there. I think these breaches can be a way for them to say, this is where we're going to break the rules. We're going to do, we're going to allow ourselves to do different stuff here because it's not part of the main world. You don't just wander across it and it's there. You have to go into it. You opt in, right? So breaches could be a lot of things in the future to me. They could be a really hard PvE encounter. Whether it be like a world boss, probably one that you want to instance into because you don't want somebody to just wander into a giant world boss and just get absolutely decimated. Um, or some type of like challenge world where you go in and you have to like complete some type of like hard challenge in a certain period of time. You could have a more puzzly type world where you have like these moving platforms that we saw in that was shared on Twitter by I think Simon a little while ago of some stuff they're working on in the background with like platforms move up and down and left and right and you have to like parkour your way around. They could
Yeah.
use the new trigger volumes and like have this like puzzle like dungeon that you go through and you do some fighting in it, but it's really more about the puzzles and that sort of thing. So I think they can like allow themselves to break the rules a little bit inside of these, outside of what you would expect in a normal world. Um, and I don't know if this is a good idea or bad idea, but I'm gonna throw out there as an idea, which is like maybe there's I think some other games do this. Maybe you guys will know, but maybe these events will be not there. Like it's not like they keep adding new events and then every event is there all the time. Like events can be situational or seasonal or something to that effect. But then maybe there's some way to like also like once that event's done, you have a way to still interact with it, even though it doesn't naturally occur anymore. Maybe there's a way to summon it. Maybe there's an option that you can flip on that says, "Hey, like, give me some of these old events too," or something like that.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think,
mean,
Big Dude?
Mhm.
I like that a lot. I mean, that kind of reminds me once again of Destiny 2, of how they have like the seasons and festivals, like even around like holidays.
Yeah,
I think it could be cool to have like around the Christmas time. There's like some kind of fun, like you go and find like these presents in a dungeon or something like that.
yeah.
That could give you cool like Christmas decor for your house or something like that. I think those kind of things are really fun,
Yeah.
and it would give you a reward that you could put in your house.
We have a little hint of that
Um,
actually. Before Hytale launched, we saw some Christmas stuff they
Yeah,
showed
we
off.
did. We
Some
did.
Halloween stuff they showed off.
hmm
A
I
lot
think
of
that
that
could
stuff's still
be.
in the game too. Like
Yeah, the assets are
a lot
there.
of the Christmas items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's a fun way to like engage the community of like, hey guys, for the next 3 months, you can find this winter portal in Zone 3, right? Like we're with all the snow.
That'd be so fun to
Like
me.
you go in
That would
there,
be
you
awesome.
go in there. It's a Christmas event. I think it brings the community together in a way, even though it's single player worlds. I still
Yeah.
think that it like engages the community. Um,
What if they
and
made
you
these
could do the
things?
same thing for
Dude,
other holidays, but
listen, they could do this. What if they made them so where like what if some of them aren't single player things or like you have an option for it to not be single player? What
like
if you could
you go
connect
in the
to it?
breach and it
Yeah, like it
puts you
lobbies you
online?
up with
Connects you to
somebody
a-
to like do something together.
Oh.
Dude, how sick would that be?
Listen,
Oh,
okay,
dude.
this
Yeah,
this
that
has
could be
Simon, you
awesome.
got to pay us the
See
big
that.
bucks.
I could see
listen,
that.
listen. Let me cook for a second,
Okay, cook,
because because I actually reached out to Simon on Twitter about this,
Okay.
and this is something that I really wanted to see happen with Hytale, and it seems like it's not going to happen by how he responded.
Okay.
But the what started all of this was when Simon was first talking about joining your friend's world. He mentioned that instead of you just like you accept and then you appear in their world, he
Mhm.
talked about the immersion of a portal opening and you walk through it and now you're in their world
I
to
remember
make
this
it feel like it's a connected
universe.
like thing. It's a connected universe. And so I like messaged and was like, what if we took that idea and put it into more elements within the game, such as the Goblin Dungeon? You get to the Goblin Dungeon, and then maybe you can say like enter queue or request dungeon like teammates
Partners
or
or
whatever.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Request
other
assistance or something.
and so like I think it could be a toggleable thing in your world that like is this an online world or offline world? If it's an online world, you would get a ping like, hey, especially if you're at like friends with them in game, it'd be like, hey, Prowl is doing a dungeon. Do you want to join? And then I could say yes, and a portal opens in my world. I walk through, I go do the dungeon with you, I get whatever loot I get from that, and I go back to my world. I think that could be so cool because it would make it feel like, even though it's a single player world, it's like you're playing almost like an MMO because you're able to still interact with players depending on what activity you do. And I think Breaches is a great example of that, of like you walk in, let's say those Christmas events or whatever, it now syncs you up with other players.
Yeah.
I think things like that would be so cool because it would make, even though you're in a single player world, it would feel like you're not alone. You know, it would feel like there's other people out there in their own worlds, and I get to hop around in certain aspects and play with others, but still always return back to my home.
Yeah, that's
pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's a good idea because it's like phone a friend almost, but like you're going into the dungeon and you could just be like, I don't want to do this by myself, and then you can just like put out like a request, and then on like client side, the player, you'd be able to both signify like, do you want to be able to receive requests, right? And then so if you optionally go out and send a request out, if they have that option on for their friends or friends of friends or however they want to kind of separate that out.
Could even do guilds.
They would get those. They would get those requests. And then that'd be really cool if like you call out for help and then like you have like up to 3 additional people or something join. And then that to figure out like, you know, what's the balance of that? Like, do you just let anybody join with whatever gear they have? Do you like do you like
friends
let
only?
them join? Well, maybe
think
like they
that
join. Maybe they could, even if they could join with just like, hey, like you get like a default kit that's like kind of like designed for that dungeon, like where the location, like that. I would even be fine with that because at least somebody could come and like play and help me out, and that'd be
similar to how like Arc Raiders has it, where you have like the free kits, where like it might not be stuff that you earned or whatever, but it's just something you could just throw on and go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that like you could have it either be like just your friends, or you could even make a guild or some kind of community where.
Well, we know they might do guilds. I think he's talked about that being a thing.
So I mean, imagine like it would just ping all of your guild members whenever you're going to do a dungeon or something like that. And you could even take it. This might be too much, but I think this still would be really cool. Is if you could craft in your world like a guild chest. Or something like that, where you can put a chest down and it syncs up. So like everybody in the guild, like we can like share resources and stuff here and there.
But just
obviously that would,
sick.
you know, that might break the game a little bit. But like, I just like, and even like an auction house thing where it's like, hey, I have found this cool sword and I need these ingots, and you just put that out there, and then people in your guild could trade. And stuff. I just think like having ways where you could connect with other players in your own solo world could be really cool.
Yeah, I think I would definitely draw the line there personally, because I'm definitely like I'm a firm believer of anytime you give a player an easier way to do something, they're always going to take it. So then like a lot of players will join a guild, and then people like to be nice and like helpful, so they'll just like throw in like all sorts of crazy end game stuff, and then somebody that starts the new world just joined a guild, they're going to take it because it's there, and then their experience is now like lessened and cheated in a way.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think guilds would work better in a smaller sense rather than it being like shared between hundreds of players. It's like me and my 3 friends are in a small guild, so we have a shared chest kind of thing. But
gotcha. What do you think, Mini Fridge?
I think that some MMO aspects is a fantastic idea, and I think like a few words into what Big Dude was talking about, I knew instantly what he was talking about. And I think having some stuff, like some activities, be able to join friends, or even maybe just like randomly match made with just random other players, could be interesting.
Some of us
if
don't
done
have friends.
Properly. Exactly. But
not safe,
I
by the way.
I can see like the argument from the devs against doing a lot of that, because it'd be very complicated.
Maybe,
to do. And then,
that was basically Simon's response, was like, he's like, though this would be really cool, the technical loops we'd have to go through for that would be pretty intense.
Maybe something they
My
could
first-
consider post-release
Yeah,
too.
he
My
said it.
first
He
thought
said
on
it's definitely
that-
something to explore. So I mean, it's
My-
not like it's a hard no, but
Like
My
imagine,
first thought on that was the infrastructure side, like who's hosting those things, like because those are all servers that have to exist somewhere.
Yeah.
Like at some
Whoever
point,
calls
those
for help
like,
hosts could be it, right?
peer to peer.
right. There's logistic things. Is my point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
imagine big dude, imagine like a full-on raid with like mechanics and different encounters and stuff. And maybe it's like part
Love
of a quest line or something.
That would be
absolute
awesome.
cinema. This dude plays Destiny too, and I love it. He already knows.
My icon is a Minecraft skin version of my hunter.
Heck
Awesome.
yeah, dude. Heck
Alright.
yeah, I'm a hunter too.
I'm gonna move us on here because I wanted to get your thoughts. And Big Dude, we'll start with you on this one. The Goblin Dungeon that we got to see. I have a picture of it on screen right now. There's a couple pictures I could scroll through. How did you feel about the bits that we did see about the dungeon design? Like, is this something? Is this like meet your expectations as the dungeon professional?
It exceeded it. I was expecting a much more closed-in
picture.
feel,
So,
which I would have been fine with as well. I was expecting a much more closed-in, like you can see the walls at all times.
Did you hear the theory
Um,
about this, by the way? Somebody dropped a good theory that I heard, which is this dungeon, assuming it's the one that has the boss in it, probably, is an instanced dungeon, and that you probably would get to it through the Forgotten Temple and that new building that they put up in the Forgotten Temple. I'm sure I
Ooh.
can scroll through here and find it
Interesting.
somewhere.
Well, they
Where
did
is it?
showcase that, right? They showed like
did.
the
No, it's not that. It's there. It's this.
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
So the theory is you go in here and that you instance into that dungeon and fight the boss there.
And as they add chapters, each pillar.
Each one gets its
Will be-
own.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what if I have a theory here, right? What if you beat the breach once, you can return by going to the Temple of Gaia, going to that pillar, and there's a permanent portal that's in there.
Maybe.
So that you can farm it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Can I just say that I think having not all but some dungeons be instanced, so where you can have like big grand caves like the Goblin Dungeon is a great idea, and then also just have some dungeons that are like more compact that you could just find out in the wild, like some catacombs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because while they're gonna do cubic chunks, they said they're probably not gonna make the world like infinitely tall and infinitely deep.
They're gonna have
But
a
if they-
limit.
Yeah.
If they do instance dungeons, then they don't have to fit that dungeon inside of that, so they can do like those massive caves or maybe
Yeah.
like a super deep underwater ocean dungeon
Well,
or something.
my understanding of what they're going to do is like they're not going to have the worlds be infinite, but that they are going to use the advanced height. So while we may not have infinite depth in the world, they may very well still go 400, 600, 800 blocks or so deep. Like, and it maybe that's like something that, you know, at launch it's 600 blocks deep, but at some point they come up with an update post launch that makes sense to make it 800 blocks deep, and they decide to make it
Yep.
deeper. Like we could definitely see something
While
like
I
that
was
happen.
exploring the current dungeons we have in the game, there's one that is let's see, I think I wrote it down somewhere. It's called the Cursed Crypt.
Okay.
And it is like a crypt, a concerning amount of skulls, a lot of undead. But there was one part that like drops down into a massive pit, but then it just cuts off like where the prefab ends. And I thought, man, imagine if there was cubic chunks and that thing just went down past my render distance.
That'd be really cool for
That
sure.
would be awesome.
Yeah. So there's a couple things whenever we talk about instanced versus overworld with the dungeons. I personally think that smaller scale dungeons work really well in the overworld.
Yes.
But when we look at like the Goblin Dungeon, I honestly don't think I would like it that much in the overworld.
They'd
And
have
I
to
think
shrink
the
it.
main reason they would have to shrink it, and then on top of that, when you complete it, if it's not instanced, now that's just a giant chunk of your map that's just no purpose. I mean,
Right,
it's like,
goblined up and
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've already
Yeah.
killed everything. And sure, maybe the enemies respawn at some point, but you could
It's
also
not
like break all the blocks in there. You could build stuff like right by the boss. Like it just kind of I think it would make these grandiose adventures. There would be a lot of ways that you could get around, cheesing it in a way.
yes, yeah.
And then also it just feeling kind of like when it's done, it's like, okay, well, there's that giant spot on my map that I'm just gonna walk away from.
I mean,
There's
I
Um,
definitely
also the
think
problem of finding the entrance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, super
exactly.
true.
I definitely think for something that's like a dungeon, yeah, it needs to be in an instance. Otherwise, you could just
Yeah.
skip to the end and just fight the boss right away or whatever, right? You could definitely easily cheese everything. But not to say that I would not like to see a dungeon like that to find it in the world, because that is also a cool thing to be able to come across. And for all of our
Sure.
cozy gamers out there, our builders out there, I'm sure their minds go crazy thinking about the cool things they could build, update, add to
Yeah.
whatever inside of one of those dungeons. So
I
it's good.
definitely
Turning
think
a
smaller
dungeon into a
versions.
base would be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just think that there should be I think there could be variants of the
Yes.
Goblin Dungeon in the overworld, but
Mhm.
like the Goblin Dungeon with the main boss and all
Needs
that
to be an
should be an
instance.
instance.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I also
There
think
kind of already is something like that. So some of the dungeons I researched, they have like different sizes of them. Like there is a
In the game
goblin,
files he's
quote
talking
unquote.
about.
There's also
Yeah.
ones that generate in exploration mode.
Mhm.
And there is a goblin one in exploration mode. It's like it really is like a very small scaled down version of
I think I
even
know what you're
just
talking about.
the
Is that the one where you have to fight the Duke?
there you can find a Duke in exploration mode. I don't think he's connected to this
Okay.
location. This is
Yeah.
called the Goblin Lair, and it is like multiple connected caves of like wooden goblin huts
Yeah.
that they live in, and then some like defenses and stuff. But there's multiple iterations of that. There's the big one is multiple rooms of like goblin huts, and then there's one that's just like one cave room of goblin huts.
Interesting.
And there's the same for mine shafts, where there's like 2 or 3 variants. There's like a very small one that's almost completely horizontal. Then there's a massive one that's like super vertical and
Interesting.
like spreads out over a whole bunch of area. So we could see like different sizes of like similar theme dungeons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Something I
Um,
think that could be cool too is the items that you get in the dungeon. I would love to see areas in the overworld that utilize like the hook shot, for example, in your overworld, like, and maybe in like the crypts or whatever, having like hook shot points.
Yeah.
To where it's like when you don't have the item yet, you see it and you're like, oh man, I don't have that. But then afterwards, you're like, you
It's
can
fun to have it,
utilize
yeah.
that for X. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
think it'd be really
confirmed
cool too.
that the hook shot relies on the points, or are you going to be able to like?
Confirmed?
From
No,
the
but
looks
that's
of
what
it,
it looked
it's-
like.
Yeah, it
'Cause I
definitely
thought-
looks like it needs the points.
I thought I saw a Simon tweet that said something about you're going to be grappling and zipping around your world with rocket boots and grapples in
That's
no
a-
time. I thought I saw something like that. I don't remember.
I'm so excited for those things.
Super same.
The glider and the rocket boots and like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
It's
yes.
gonna be really fun. All the goblin gadgets that we're gonna get. You saw the drill,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
The drill.
Yeah, the drill is crazy.
Oh, the drill's going to be so good.
I can't wait. That's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. So we're gonna start bringing things to a close here a little bit because I want to respect Big Dude's time, but I want to go through, give everybody a little bit of a chance for some final thoughts. Like, so the topic as a whole here, talking about bosses and dungeons and breaches and whatever. If there's something you haven't gotten to talk about yet or something you wanted to elaborate more on, now's the time. Big Dude, what do you got? What are some of your final thoughts? What are some things you want to get off your chest here?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like I kind of just did that with the items. I was trying to like throw that in there. That's something that I really love about dungeons, and obviously this kind of goes back to my Zelda roots, right?
Yeah.
Because I love dungeon items. That is like one of my favorite things. Is I go in a dungeon, I find this cool, unique item that changes my gameplay. Like it's not just like a new weapon or something like that. It's like a new thing that I can use to either navigate or puzzle solve or something like that. I would love to see in the dungeon like they're like when you get the hook shot, for example, that there would be parts in the dungeon that require the hook shot to traverse, as well as you could even make parts of the boss fight like in order to maybe take down one of the goblin shields or like armor pieces, you have to hook it, like use your hook
Oh,
shot,
that would be dope.
pull
Yeah.
it towards you. It reveals the goblin. You know what I mean? Like to utilize these items in much more ways than just like
Movement
having
or
one
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
movement.
Mhm.
I love the idea of using them in a boss fight. I think that is such a fun thing in the Zelda games, especially because you have to think of like the creative, like how am I supposed to beat this? Like, oh, well, I got this new item. Maybe I have to use this to, maneuver around and whatever. I just would love to see how they implement the dungeon items, especially in boss fights. I would
Yeah.
like to see them used in boss fights.
What about you, man? What kind of final thoughts do you have for us?
So the one thing we didn't get to talk about that is driving me nuts about the whole dungeon thing is, are the breaches going to be timed?
Yeah.
And I think that's a whole conversation in kind of its own right of like, because currently with the portals and stuff like that to the end game stuff, those being timed and those resources, like basically like the timer cuts off, you're kicked out. I thought that was referenced a little bit and I don't remember exactly now. It's been a little bit since I read the article. But what I don't want is, because there was something in the article about it forcing you out over a period of time.
Yeah, there's like a void presence that's going to force you out, and I think it said pushing against you, so it made it sound like to me like it wasn't a hard timer, but more of like maybe a difficulty ramp of some type that eventually you got to decide like I can't do this anymore. I got to cut bait now.
See,
I think they're trying to stop people from just living in the breach.
Right.
I don't think it's like a time limit on the dungeon. More so is like they don't want you to just stay in there forever.
And I would be okay with that. Excuse me. I'd be okay with that. My big concern is that like what I don't want is like maybe that's like a lore implication or something that they're saying for like a reason to just cut off the dungeon and kick you out. That's what I don't want to happen.
Okay.
I don't
So
think
it's like
anyone wants that.
So it's like if they're saying there's a void presence that's pushing you out, what I don't want that to be is some nebulous lore thing that just is just them basically saying a timer. I want it to actually be like void mobs that like start to overwhelm and like
I'm
make
pretty
it so
sure
that it's
it'll be
unsittable.
both. I think there'll be an increase of void enemies because we've seen them spawn in some of the pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And then at some point there might just be a hard timer, kind of like the Dreadwade fragment. I'd assume that we'd have more time than like 9 minutes in the breach.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
optimistically say like
Yeah.
20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Hytale can handle just an infinitely increasing wave of enemies spawning without just being, all right, you've had enough, buddy, get out of here.
I think they can, because there's only been like so much. Like, I guess we'll see how it is when the runes system kind of gets in. But like, at least as the game is right now, if they threw enough at you, like you're gonna die. Like the little eyeball dudes, like they hit like a truck. If you're surrounded by like 10 of those things, I don't
meant
care
performance wise.
Yeah, I get that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think they would have to ramp it up to the point where there's like thousands of mobs before the player is pushed out. Like they could just throw harder mobs at you and swarm you with it, and not even that large of a quantity, and you're gonna die. There's like health regen is not crazy in Hytale. You have like potions, but if you're taking damage, those don't really work very well.
You'll run out of food and
yeah.
I definitely want them to be generous with the time limit. I mean, especially because it looks like when you walk through the breach, you're not just at the dungeon. It looks like there's a whole like goblin forest.
It's a goblin world.
That you're
I wouldn't be surprised.
I want to explore. I want to
get
take my
different
time.
unique blocks and stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if the dungeon is physically separate from the breach, and you have to do stuff in the breach to like access the dungeon. At the
yes,
that
makes sense.
I love that.
I like that.
That's
idea.
A
great idea.
Or maybe there's like a key for the dungeon, and you have to go like find it by doing some goblin camps or something around the area,
Or like you
and then
get
you
certain
can get a chest and
certain drops that they have, scraps and stuff that like you craft a thing that is the key in a
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
That's actually a
or
good
it could
idea,
even be
yeah.
like the item, for example, like to get in the dungeon, you have to grapple up. It's like, okay, well, you have to go get the hook shot,
Ooh, yeah,
and
they
then
could
you
do
can
that.
hook up
Mhm.
into it. Just things like that.
Yeah.
I do like that idea though, that like there's stuff you have to complete in the goblin world, or maybe there's like a wave around the entrance of the dungeon, and you have to like defeat these 4 like nodes, and once all 3 are defeated, then the shield drops and you can
Yeah.
enter the dungeon.
Mm,
I think
yeah.
I love
That could be
that
it.
idea.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun.
Be fun. What are your final thoughts on the subject, Mini Fridge?
Well, for one thing, I hope that there's like it doesn't have to be this dungeon, but just dungeons in general. I hope at some point there's like puzzles, and I'm not talking
Yes.
like just like Skyrim puzzles of match this icon to this thing, but like use your brain at least a little bit in order to progress.
Some of us don't
Um,
have one, okay?
And
I'm talking about Oatman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be a man of oats doesn't require much.
He's just oatmeal.
That's
I
right.
think it would be interesting if they did what they do with Destiny dungeons, where there's like set encounters where you have to complete this in order to progress. Sometimes it's a full-on boss fight with its own mechanics, and sometimes it's like its own puzzle. And then like the first and second encounter build on like the mechanics that you use to fight the final boss of the dungeon.
I've been joined by a
Yep.
cat for those that aren't watching. She's been begging for attention for like 10 minutes now.
So it'd be cool to see dungeons like build on like their own unique mechanics that you have to make sure you've mastered by the time you get to the boss.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that for this, but it'd be cool to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. That sounds cool. So big dude, your time's about to run out, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
This is correct.
We went through this at a pretty good pace. I'm happy with it. So I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna kind of end the main show now, and then I'll let the big dude will get to run away, and then we'll still do a post show. We're gonna kick big dude out. We're gonna talk about it behind his back after he's gone.
Yeah.
And we'll have a little bit of conversation in the post show about big
I will
dude
then
and
be
other
the tallest one in this call.
This is true.
FYI.
You will be the new big dude. Maybe I'll swap the nameplate.
That's right.
That's right.
Call me large man.
Call him Big Oats.
All right.
Big
So
Oats.
I do appreciate having all of you on today. Before we head into the post show, I want to make sure everybody knows where to find you guys. So, big dude, what platforms are you on? What are you known by on all those platforms?
Basically just YouTube. Every now and then I'm on X, but mainly just YouTube. Big dude.
All right.
That's it.
The one and only.
The one and only. Oh man, where can everybody find you?
YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter or X. I'm Oatman5000 on everything.
On all of those. Okay, perfect.
On all of them. Yep.
And Broken Mini Fridge, I know you've told us before, but tell the people again in case they didn't watch that episode, where can they find you?
Broken Mini Fridge on YouTube, and then I'm Broken Cold Box on Twitter because someone stole Broken Mini Fridge.
Oh man, we gotta find that guy.
Yeah, we
gotta find that guy.
Yeah, for real. We're gonna get something done about that around here. We have the power.
Yeah, we can't let that slide.
All right, so that sums up the main show here. I did enjoy this quite a bit, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I think we had some good ideas come out from this, and hopefully the Hytale team sees it and they can pick some little things from our conversation that they liked. Big dude expects it. So if you're watching this podcast, please leave it a like, follow us on YouTube and on Spotify, both platforms, and consider becoming a monthly Patreon supporter via the link in the description below so you can catch the pre-show and the post-show where we roast Big Dude. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. It's time for Big Dude to hightail it out of here, and we're going to go over to the main show. He's gone! All right, guys. Bye!